Everybody please rise. Dear God, today as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in this decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessings on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. We'll now salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counsel Elliott. Here. Counsel Kennedy. Counsel Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Mercia.
Here.
Counsel Milanazzo.
Here.
Counsel Noon.
Here.
Mayor Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Cirillo.
Here.
Counsel Conway.
Here.
8 present.
All right, we have moments of silence. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Ronald W. Close, beloved husband of the late Sharon Zanoni Close, with whom he celebrated 51 years of marriage at the time of her death last August. Ron was a Vietnam veteran, having served in the United States Marines. He attended Lowell Technical Institute and received his degree in civil engineering. Ron worked as a civil engineer for the city of Lowell and later for the town of Dracut. Ron was a 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo, and he owned Dracut Taekwondo for many years. Surviving him, besides his mother, are a daughter, Dawn, employed at the DPW, and son-in-law, John Cooper, from the sign shop. 2 grandchildren, Corey and Tara Cooper. We offer our sympathy to his family, relatives, and many friends. And secondly, I would like to also offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Joseph K. Alcara, devoted husband of Mary, loving father and grandfather, who passed away on April 19th of this year, surrounded by his family, most of whom are here with us this evening. To those who knew Joseph, his passing on Good Friday at 3:00 p.m. Jerusalem time serves as a final testament of his devotion to his faith and love of God. Born in Beirut, Lebanon, to Khalil and Adele Alcara, he was one of 7 siblings. Joseph met and married the love of his life, Mary B. Maroon. This year they would have celebrated their 70th anniversary. Joseph immigrated to the United States, settling in Lowell, Massachusetts. There he became one of the most successful immigrants to establish himself and remain in Lowell, an accomplishment recognized and remain in Lowell, an achievement recognized in 2013 by the University of Massachusetts Lowell as the most successful business immigrant that has not left the city of Lowell. With his wife Mary, Joseph built the highly successful Vogue beauty salon enterprise with patrons including Jackie Kennedy, Frank Sinatra, Bob Hope, and Judy Garland, to name a few. A joyous, compassionate, and charitable man, Joseph lived to use his success to help others. Along with his cousin Danny Thomas, Joseph became a founding member of the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. His advice to others is living a long life and successful life. Be yourself, work hard, and keep smiling every day. His legacy continues through his 4 daughters, Mary Jo Alcara, J.D., and her husband George Noor, M.S., Adele Alcara, M.D., Ph.D., and her husband Elias K. Hashim, D.D.S., the Honorable Joanne Alcara and her husband Cornelius Verhoost, Jr., M.D., and Colette Alcara, J.D., and her husband Andreas Sawa, along with grandchildren Andrew, ESQ, Lana, DDS, candidate, Joseph MS, PhD candidate, Michael BA candidate, Cornelius, Mary, Jonathan BA, and Amadeus BA. Our condolences to his remarkable and very talented family, his many relatives and devoted friends. May he rest in peace. And a moment of silence in darkened chamber to all those who have passed on since our last city council meeting. May they all rest in peace.
Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Samaras. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chambers for Helen Marie Ledoux, who died peacefully on April 21st at the age of 90 after 2 years of declining health. She was a native of Lowell, and for the past year she resided at the Duval Life and Wellness Community. She was very devoted to her family, friends, and heritage, a love of literature, art, and design, a deep faith in a loving God, and a sustained commitment to hard work and service to others. Mrs. Ledoux was born December 23rd, 1928, here in Lowell. She graduated in the class of 1946 from Lowell High School. She was married to Lowell native Henry Ledoux, who predeceased her in 2009, and they had 57 years of marriage. She was a lifelong communicant of the Immaculate Conception Church, an active member of its Women's Guild, and she was a proud member of the Ladies Ancient of Hibernians and served for many years as historian. And I can tell you they were proudly at her funeral mass the other morning. She's survived by her 4 children, Lawrence Larry Ledoux of Westford, a retired Lowell firefighter, Mark Ledoux of Somerville, Susan LePeck of Chelmsford, and David Ledoux of Lowell. She also had 4 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren, and I'm very proud to say she was my den mother many years ago in Cub Scout Troop 35, and she was a lovely person. Thank you.
Any other moments? All right, please darken the chambers. Thank you. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could suspend the rules and allow Joseph Alcara's daughter, Mary Jo, to address the council, please.
So move.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It was beautiful. Thank you so much. Distinguished board, my name is Mary Jo Alcara. I'm Joseph Alcara's eldest child. My father died on Good Friday, 3 o'clock, Jerusalem time. My father loved the city of Lowell. Late 80s, early 90s, many of you will remember buildings boarded up, people filing bankruptcies, a mass exodus out. Dad stood firm. He believed in Lowell. He always said, Lowell will come back. Dad had many, many opportunities to leave. January '05, while visiting family on the West Coast, our home burned to the ground. To make things worse, there was a lapse in the homeowner's insurance. We encouraged Dad to leave the city, but he vowed to rebuild, and guess what he did? In 2013, as was mentioned a little while ago, Dad was honored by the University of Massachusetts as the most successful business immigrant that has not left the city of Lowell. My understanding is they teach a course on him at the university, and where he was very, very honored about this distinguished presentation. Did you know Dad was one of the first people to bring the Danny Thomas St. Jude Children's Research Hospital charity to the city? And that Lowell was one of the first places in the country to embrace the now world-acclaimed St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. This humble immigrant of Lebanon, son of Lowell, Joseph Alcara, was one of the founders of St. Jude, working with Danny Thomas. In the 70s, With his broken but charming English, Dad carried a video and went from school to school talking about childhood leukemia. He organized citywide marches and events with hopes of curing this horrible, horrible childhood disease. He would proclaim, "This is the only hospital that treated children with cancer for free and housed their families." There was a lot of resistance when Dad brought St. Jude to Lowell. People would say, "I'm sorry we gave it the office, or we gave the Red Cross or the United Front." But Dad persisted. Lowell should be proud, as it was one of the first cities in the country, and now in the world, to embrace the St. Jude charity. On a quick note, my mother was an exceptional woman and longtime staple in the city. When women couldn't qualify for a bank loan, when women were told they should be seen and not heard, my mother was one of the first women to own and operate a business. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, it was in the city of Lowell. During the war, she opened beauty salons at the Lowell train station, where ladies would go to get their hair done as they waited for trains to bring their soldiers home. In 1949, after marrying Dad, they owned and operated the Vogue beauty salons together. They won styling awards in Paris, as their clients included, as you mentioned, Judy Garland, Danny Thomas, the Kennedys, Frank Sinatra, and Betty Davis. They won styling awards for the Italian boycott in Paris, which was world-renowned. I was very young when Senator Ted Kennedy came to visit. My mother often said he loved to eat hummus. At the time he was expecting his first child, it was a girl. There was a discussion as to what to name the baby. Well, he decided to name her Cara, after our family name, El Cara. I am here today as the family is honored by the kindness of the city to dim the lights in this chamber in his memory. If I can be so humble to request from this distinguished city council that Hanover Street, a small side street off of Merrimack Street, which abuts the El Cara building, be renamed El Cara Street in his memory. Please support this request and honor a man who honored this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll now go into Mayor's Business, Lowell Veterans Commission. Commissioner LaMarche, we had the honor tonight, Justin Spencer.
Mr. Spencer wasn't able to stay here tonight. About 5:30, we honored him with friends, family, and some co-workers. Tonight happened to be his wedding anniversary, so he had a commitment he couldn't miss. But on behalf, first of all, I'd just like to thank the City of Lowell, the City Council, Madam Manager, and the Mayor for constantly supporting the veterans of the city. You're always there whenever we need you, and I think it's pretty amazing. On behalf of the City of Lowell Veterans Commission and Veteran Services, we'd just like to congratulate Mr. Justin Spencer as being awarded the Walter Bayless Veteran of the Month for the month of April for his numerous achievements while serving in Afghanistan and the United States Army, and for his continued service to our community, where he works as an 11th and 12th grade anatomy and physiology teacher at Lowell High School. Mr. Spencer, we thank you for your sacrifice and your services to our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Spencer wanted to thank the City Council for the support in this area. Thank you very much. Next, we have recognition of the Massachusetts State Treasurer's Office, the SOA MA program. I hosted a meeting a few months ago with representatives of Massachusetts State Treasurer's Office regarding the SOA MA program. This is a 2-year pilot program that offers 7th grade students seed-funded savings account. So I believe we have somebody from the, yes. It's a wonderful program, and I'd like to have the council made aware. Please introduce yourself and.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank Madam Manager and the council for having us here today and giving a brief update on the program. My name is Keenan Grooms. I'm the Assistant Director for the Treasurer's Office. This is my colleague, Nicole Lynch, who's also with the Treasurer's Office, and Jonathan Hughes, who is with the Mass Educational Financing Authority. I just want to briefly talk about our office, which is the first of its kind in the state. It's the Office of Economic Empowerment, and it was really created by the Treasurer 4 years ago upon her inauguration to work on financial education as well as empowering economic security for every member of the Commonwealth. And because of that, we've created a few programs, whether it be closing the wage gap across the Commonwealth, creating programs for women finance, as well as college affordability and college access. So we are working with municipalities across the state. Right here in Lowell, we're working with Madam Manager's office with Connor, creating programs here to allow city employees to create 529 accounts for the city members, as well as automatic deposits. And we are also working within the school systems to encourage families to create 529 accounts for every member of the middle school here. So Nicole is our community engagement coordinator here on the ground, has been working very hard to get families enrolled in our SORMA pilot. We're in our 2nd year of this pilot program, and we are quickly coming up to the closing. So I'll let her talk a little bit about what she's been doing here at Stocklosa Middle School, and a few things about what's coming up next for it.
Hello everyone, thank you. As Keenan mentioned, I am on the ground in Lowell for the SOAR program. So what we do is we had been delivering learning circles at Stocklosa Middle School for families to begin understanding or continue their understanding of engaging at the school, of thinking about how much college actually costs, and really just trying to promote that college-going culture in the city and especially at Stocklosa. And a special benefit of the SOAR program is that families with 7th and 8th graders at Stocklosa Middle School can get $50 deposit when they open the 529 account, and they can also get matched funds from $100 to $400. So that's kind of what I've been working on, is building those relationships at the school and in the community to reach all families, but especially the families who will receive those benefits. So that's the SOAR program. I'll let Jonathan just mention a little bit of the benefits of the 529 plans, and then we'll go back to our Keenan for our new program at the Treasurer's Office.
Thank you so much. My name is Jonathan Hughes. I'm here from the Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority. And as Keenan and Nicole have mentioned, we work very closely with the Treasurer's Office of Economic Empowerment in administering the SOAR MA program in Lowell and in other cities across the Commonwealth. The 529 programs in which the money is invested in are programs that are offered by MIFA, and we know that having 529 programs of college savings, especially early, plays a huge role in promoting college-going culture and college and career training later on in life. So we're very fortunate to be part of this program, and I've been fortunate myself to be at Stocklosa a few times for the enrollment events, and they've been really, really eye-opening and definitely a good use of my time personally, and everyone at MIFA is very excited to be part of the program. If you have any questions about 529 programs, I can help you answer that. Thank you.
So as both Jonathan and Nicole had mentioned, we've had some great turnout here in Lowell, and we are in 4 other communities across the states focusing on gateway cities for our pilot program. And as this pilot program ends up in June, the Treasurer is really figuring out some of the best practices we've seen right here in Lowell, Springfield, and other communities across the state, and how we can implement that into a statewide program. And we are happy to announce, because of some of this great work and the engagement from some of these community members here in Lowell, we are creating the new Baby Step program, which is the first seeded funding program that's statewide for every baby born starting in 2020. So we will be creating a free college savings account for any baby born in Massachusetts or adopted in the state starting in 2020, and they'll also receive $50 in financial education into that account. So some of this great work here is what's led to that for a statewide program, and we look to engage the community members here going forward.
Thank you. I felt that the city council should become aware of our relationship with the treasurer's office and this excellent program. Are there any questions from any councilors? Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Madam Manager.
Thank you. I just want to thank Treasurer Goldberg and her staff for having this pilot program here in the Stocklosa. This was a bill that I sponsored in the legislature and passed the legislature and signed into law by Governor Baker. So it's very gratifying and encouraging to see the treasurer taking this up here in the city of Lowell.
Thank you, Madam Manager.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, last night we kicked off the 2019 Festival of Learning, and by celebrating the life of Patrick Mogan. But you know, the idea of making Lowell a learning UNESCO city is very important, and we're blessed to have some guests from Ireland. I'd like to have John to come up, come up and introduce everybody. Dr. Woody, I'm sorry.
It's John Wooding, and I'm back. And I never give up. Okay. We had a great opening ceremony last night, as the mayor said, sort of riffing on the history and legacy of Pat Mogan, and doing what we do so well in this city, which is building on the past, defining the future. That's good. Somebody write that down. Okay. And we're very happy to have some guests from Cork, Ireland, and I thought that would be a great opportunity for them to speak about the impact of defining Cork as a UNESCO learning city has had on them. So I'm very pleased to introduce Dennis Barrett, who is the director of the Learning Cities Initiative in the city of Cork, and Paul Moriarty, who is the director of student services for the University College in Cork. And they're going to tell you a little bit about the impact of being a UNESCO learning city on Cork, and I thought it would be valuable to hear that. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Dennis.
Thank you, Mayor Sammers, for the invitation to speak and the honour to address the council here in Lowell. As John introduced, we are here as a partnership, as two of the main partners in the effort to make Cork a learning city. That's University, College Cork and Cork City Council. So I represent Cork City Council, and Paul Moriarty, who will speak later, represents the university. But they are only two of the partners in our efforts. Cork Institute of Technology is a third partner, and the Cork Education and Training Board is the fourth. And partnership is key in our experience. And we saw last night, we were privileged really to be at the opening ceremony, a wonderful learning experience for us. And we can see, the question was asked, how can Lowell be a learning city? And the answer was offered, Lowell is a learning city. And we would see that very clearly. And the question then is, how can Lowell be a better learning city? What we can offer tonight, very briefly, is a little flavour of what we've learned, because where Lowell is now was where Cork was in 2004. So I brought a number of documents which I'd ask, maybe James might circulate to the council members, and there's a copy for the mayor and one for the city manager's table also. The first of these is an explanation of our learning city structure. The second is our most recent newsletter reflecting hosting the UNESCO International Conference on Learning Cities. And the third is the this year's festival program. So this is our 16th festival, and I also wanted to bring, which I've only one copy of now, our very first program. So in 16 festivals later, it grew from this small festival, which is where Lowell, I see, has already established itself, to, in Cork, 600 events over the course of a week, all free and all offered voluntarily by partner organisations who are willing to work with City Council as a joined-up effort. So that's what has happened for us in those years. The books are here if you want to take a copy later. So last night I got a sense of what makes Lowell, and I heard it even in the speeches earlier. Lowell has such a strong sense of place and a sense of identity, and it's very clear that its people believe in Lowell, and in return Lowell cares about its people. Our experience of the Learning Festival and other models that have worked for us, learning neighbourhoods, learning workplaces, and our conferences and seminars, All of those have been built on partnership, and I can see that all those ingredients are here in Lowell. We were in the right place at the right time when UNESCO launched this international network, and in 2013 the first conference was in Beijing, China. The second was in Mexico City, and when they asked for offers to host the third, Cork City, which is not much larger than Lowell, put its hand up, and because of what we have been doing, which is very similar to what I see Lowell has been doing, we were given the opportunity to host the third International Conference of Learning Cities in 2017. And that was because we had really developed a track record over many years of including all our citizens in learning opportunities, learning lifelong and learning life-wide. We recognise the learning in everything. Our former Director of Services for Economic Development and Strategic Planning in the city presented to Council back in 2003. Why should Cork City Council engage in this from the economic perspective and the planning perspective? And he said it was about three things. It was about personal development for all the citizens, that it's good for anybody to be involved in learning, it's inclusion. It's about building relations between different identities, and I can see in Lowell you value the different nationalities that are here. It's about skills, it's about developing skills for a constantly changing economy, and it's about building a reputation for the city. And we've seen that working with this way of working and connecting with UNESCO and the global network of learning cities, that has really benefited our city. So I think it's all there for you. I think it's over to you now, Lowell. We have formed quite recently a network of European and US learning cities. It's only starting out with UNESCO supporting cities all around the world and unable to support cities in the States. This network is the best way that we can connect with you, and that I would offer the opportunity to Lowell to lead the network from the affiliated cities in the United States. I think you're well placed to do it. We have a memorandum of understanding with our sister city, San Francisco, and I see from last night's experience that Lowell in some ways is ahead of what San Francisco has done. So I think the opportunity is there, and I think if you're in a position to say yes to this, that we will be quite happy to support you every step of the way. I'd like to offer Paul Moriarty the opportunity to say, from the university's perspective, to reflect the other side of the partnership.
Thank you, Dennis. Paul?
Thank you. It's a real privilege to be here this evening to represent University College Cork, to represent President Patrick O'Shea, who moved to UCC from the University of Maryland, and Professor John O'Halloran in particular, who has a great relationship with Lowell, I believe, down the years. So I'm kind of coming off the substitutes bench because I happen to be here this week visiting the university. So I spent all today visiting the university, and last night I had the privilege of being at that event mentioned earlier. I've been mightily impressed with the people of Lowell and the people in the university, and the passion which people speak about their place, and the sense that they have of learning that I share, that learning happens in all kinds of situations, has really impressed me. I also am chair of the Student Affairs of Ireland organisation, and recently we changed our name from the Confederation of Student Services to Student Affairs, and I was asked to speak to that point at the recent the UNESCO Global Summit of Student Affairs in Santiago, Chile. And for me, it was all about calling out the learning opportunity that is in every interaction, and to ground that in an experience that I had in a relatively new position that I hold, was in trying to solve a problem recently. We're a university that sits within a very residential neighbourhood, which I actually come from, so I had a connection to this. And it would have suffered quite a bit from some antisocial behaviour, particularly on a Thursday night, which is the night out for students. And to address this, I had put a group together of residents, students, and some staff, and particularly some staff from UCC who lived in the area and moved out. And to address that problem, we first of all looked at what potential solutions might be. A year later, That problem is nothing like what it used to be, and in fact what has emerged out of that group is a whole range of opportunities, initiatives that come with students having the opportunity to partner with residents around new initiatives. And what I see happening is that students are learning on a daily basis from the residents, and the residents are gaining from some of the gifts and talents of the students as well. So to me, that's a learning city in action. And what helped, I suppose, for me in approaching it that way was the lens at which I looked at it, which was from the lens of a learning city. Mightn't have thought of it in that way, only that because we're a learning city, we're encouraged to look at things and see what the learning opportunity is in every situation. So I wish you very well with your journey, and as you know, I'm delighted to be here to give testimony to the university's side of what the Learning City experiences in Cork. Thank you.
Thank you for those words.
So just in closing, there was a phrase we robbed from another learning city, and we've used it ourselves, and we brought it up last night as something I think Lowell can run with because you have the right letters. So we use Cork Loves Learning as our hashtag. Lowell Loves Learning sounds all the better to me. It's clear to me that you do. When the US decides to rejoin UNESCO, and we all hope that won't be long, I believe Lowell is in pole position to be the leading learning city in the States. And the opportunities now, we would consider bringing back to our City Council in Cork the suggestion to form a memorandum of understanding with Lowell, if your council would consider that would be something that you would value. You can see I'm wearing both pins, and you can say the mayor is wearing both his pins, so we've already decided to work with you, and we're delighted to be here and really honoured to have this opportunity. So all these documents are here, if I could ask for them to be distributed, and we'll be happy to discuss any of these with you after. Thanks, Mayor. Thanks.
First of all, I'd like to, could we have a motion to have this council support a memorandum?
So moved.
And second by Councillor Cirillo. Thank you. And we also have a key to present you to cement our relationship with the City of Cork. I'd like to have the City Council come up to have a picture with us. Dr. Wooding also. Thank you very much. Finally, under Mayor's business, we have a recognition for the Hoops for Hope and Jay Grasso.
I want to thank the mayor for the honor to be able to address the council meeting tonight. My name's Phil Arsenault. I'm one of the directors of Hoops for Hope. This is Jay Grasso, another director, and this is Mike Lamb, who works with Hope Worldwide. Hoops for Hope is a charity which started 11 years ago where 48 men play basketball for 24 hours. It's not your typical pickup game. This event has taken place at UMass Lowell for the last 5 years. We do it to raise money for two hospitals, the Scenic Hospital in Cambodia and the Sanja Kill Hospital in Cambodia, and Hope Worldwide. They give free medical care to the poor in Cambodia, as well as have a sliding scale for those who can afford medical care, and have served over 1.5 million patients. And as you know, there's a huge Cambodian population in Lowell, and in the 1970s, during the evil Pol Pot reign, Pol Pot committed the horror of genocide on the educated people of Cambodia, including doctors and physicians. Some of the parents, grandparents, and other relatives of the Cambodian community in Lowell today were some of the murdered people. That left Cambodian healthcare in shambles. Why we do what we do for the hospitals, and we do it for the hospitals in the Cambodian community, and it's our labor of love. This year, so far, we have raised $65,000. In our 11-year history, we have raised over $650,000. And so we've partnered with the Sock family in Lowell, who've been involved since we've been at UMass Lowell. One year they had a dinner, a Cambodian dinner, where they raised $12,000 for the hospitals. And it's been inspiring to partner with the Lowell General Hospital, because they partner with the Scenic Hospital and the Sonja Hospital. The Lowell General has donated needed equipment to these hospitals, as well as having Cambodian doctors come to Lowell and do some training. Amy Hoey, the COO of Lowell General, will be visiting these hospitals in the fall of this year. She's been an amazing support to these hospitals and has been part of our dignitary meeting, which we have every morning, the morning of Hoops for Hope at 10 a.m. A few years back, we received a citation from the House of Representatives, presented by the only Cambodian in the House, Roddy Mam. We felt honored when we received that citation. I want to thank the councilmen for their great support. The last number of years, Rodney Elliott has been a part of the dignitary meeting, where the dignitaries address the participants, and he's also actually has played. He's not bad. He's actually played in some of our games. And I do want to lastly thank the Honorable Mayor William Samaras. He attended the dignitary meeting this year. It really meant so much to us, and it inspired the participants that you were present. And I really want to thank you so much. I also, on behalf of Hoop to Hope, wanted to thank him sincerely for inviting us here tonight. We plan on doing this labor of love for the foreseeable future. And we would love your continued support. If you want more information on it, you can go to playforapurpose.org. Thank you.
I want to thank you for that information. But the thing is, you have to know the reason why I invited them here, as long as they destroyed the picture of me shooting at the hoops, I said you could come and speak. But Councilor Elliott, do you want to say anything?
No, I think Phil, Jay, and Mike, I think Phil said it all. It's a wonderful organization. They do play basketball for 24 hours. In 5 years, I've yet to come close, but it's just a wonderful, humble group of people who continue to do this out of the goodness of their heart, and the money goes such a long way. And, you know, the support that Lowell General commits cannot be underscored enough. They provide medical equipment, and now they're going to actually go over and initiate a certificate program for arthroscopic surgery. So thank you. I know the community is very grateful, and we as a city are. And I'm glad you came to Lowell. We met at the sock party,
Yeah.
and they were looking for a space, and we made it happen. So I just want to thank you as well.
Thank
Any
you.
further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the issues raised under Mayor's business, there is a lot going on in the city of Lowell, so we're just pleased with that. I have to go into the public hearing at this point, because we've gone past the 7 o'clock time. The first one under public hearing, Sienna Engineering Group, TC Systems, requests to install telecommunications underground conduits on Gorham Street, intersection of Dick Street and Moore Street. I open the hearing for those that want to speak in favor. Those that want to speak in favor, please come up to the podium. Give your name and...
Hi, my name's Adam Heller from Sienna Engineering Group. These plans were presented on behalf of TC Systems, an affiliate of AT&T. Basically, we just are petitioning to build this, well, there's actually a second petition immediately after this one, to build two separate, what we call riser connections from manholes to utility poles. That way we can place cable on behalf of TC Systems, across a railroad bridge, which currently is unable to be crossed aerially. So the idea of building a new underground system would be to get under that railroad bridge in the existing Verizon conduit system. That's just the general purpose of this proposal.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Is this going to affect Carter Street?
What's that?
Is this on Carter Street?
Carter?
Carter Street?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else who wants to speak in favor? In favor? That portion is closed. Anyone who wants to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? That portion is closed. Madam Manager?
Thank you. I know the city engineer is present, not necessarily in opposition, but there is a note regarding a moratorium on Gorham Street, if she could just address that aspect to the petition.
Sure, thank you. Just want to make a note, and it is in the petition, in our utility review, that portion is under moratorium. The work is proposed just within the sidewalk area, so a condition when they do come in for a permit is that they will have to complete full sidewalk restoration. If there was a chance that any work was in the street, there would be full curb-to-curb restoration, but that's not anticipated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. I need a motion to refer this to the wire inspector for the report and recommendation.
So moved.
By Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Cirillo. Thank you. Next, we have CNN Engineering Group, TC Systems, request to install telecommunication underground conduit on Gorham Street, intersection of Manchester Street. Want to open the hearing for those who want to speak in favor. Hearings are now open. Anyone who wants to speak in favor? Speak in favor. That portion is closed. Anyone who wants to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? That portion is closed. The hearing's closed. Madam Manager, any further discussion on this?
No, I don't believe so, other than what has been mentioned regarding Gorham Street in the sidewalk area.
Okay. I need a motion to refer to the wire inspector for report and recommendation. By Councilor
Second.
Milonazo, second by Councilor Cirillo. Thank you. Next, we have Axis Engineering Group request to place fiber lines to service 2 Prince Avenue. Open the hearing for those who want to speak in favor. In
That
favor?
would be me. Hi, I'm Shelley Cullen, and I represent MCI Metro, and they're interested in excavating Carter Street from pole 1 over to a private property manhole.
Any questions? Yes? Question?
My name's Dave DeRocher. I live at 14 Carter Street, and my concerns are, for one, it's a one-way, it's a small road, comings and goings during the course of the day, proper notice ahead of time.
All right, I went a little out of order, should have closed off that hearing, but we're now in the hearing for you're in opposition?
I'm not in opposition, but I want proper notice and proper explanation of what's going to be going on.
Madam Manager?
Thank you. I know both Christine Clancy, the city engineer, as well as Natasha, as far as I understand your question, once the work is ongoing?
Yes, we'd like to know ahead of time. You know, they've done some work on the street. We've had no notice. I was actually on medical leave at the time. I had to walk on crutches to the end of the street to get my ride to my appointments, and it was very inconvenient. So where we live on the street, we had to move our vehicles, which I couldn't do because, once again, I was in a cast, and we had no notification that this was going on.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, with your permission, if Christine Clancy can address the gentleman's concerns.
Sure. In terms of when we do issue the permit, we can just make a note that they have to be proper notification 48 hours in advance. Is that, we'll make that a condition in the permit.
Thank you.
Councilor Elliott?
Could I just ask the engineer, these are all the kind of major intersections, and they're They're all underground conduit. Didn't we just do a fair amount of paving right on Gorham Street and Manchester and Dix? Is going to be restored back to the condition?
Sure. Along Gorham Street at Moore and Dix, we did. Manchester, I believe that's just outside the limits. And so when streets are under moratorium, they have to come for approval, a special approval through city engineering and DPW commissioner to be able to excavate in the streets. And so when that does happen, we require stricter restoration requirements, full sidewalk, and if it's in the roadway, usually curb to curb restoration. And that street, I believe it's under moratorium till 2021, I believe it is.
Okay,
But it is under moratorium.
So what will be the requirements for restoration if they're going to tear it up?
For Moore in,
Yeah.
at Moore and Dix, I believe it's 28 feet of conduit, and it looks like that will be entirely within the sidewalk.
Oh, okay.
So full sidewalk restoration, full panels. If they had to excavate the curbing or the roadway, we would look at more enhanced restoration, full curb to curb. But we're anticipating it will be within from the plans I submitted, it's anticipated to be within the sidewalk.
All right, and it seems like a little thing, but over time, when we consistently see, new roads with trenches in it, it becomes frustrating. So just lastly, so who will communicate with the residents so there's ample notice this time, considering there's been work done and no notification? How does that work?
I guess what I would propose is that we would make a condition in the permit that they have to notify 48 hours in advance. So that would probably be the contractor that's doing the notification.
You good with that, Mr. DeRosa? Okay.
I'm fine with it, yes. I assume we can do it with the abutters list?
Question is, can you do that with the abutters list? 48 hours, how do you do that?
We can provide, have contacts from the abutters. We'll make a condition in the permit.
You'll have to go door to door, I suppose, with notices, right?
I'm sorry.
I said, how will you notify them within 48 hours from an abutters list? You're going to walk and go
They could do that.
put notices on the door?
That would actually make sense.
Okay.
There are only 3 houses on the street.
Right, I thought so.
It's a
Okay.
small street. And it is congested.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we're talking about street lights and poles, and we're in the area of Gorham Street in that neighborhood, I brought up some time ago about how the widening of Thorndike Street at that area of Highland Street happened, and there were 9 street lights that are out, and we're talking about an area from Thorndike Street that goes into Gorham Street, which is Gallagher Square, and yet we have people here from National Grid, and I still have no answer as to why 9 lights are out. It isn't a question of just putting a new bulb in. It's a question of underground wiring or whatever's taken place, and yet this is, I know it's not relevant to this, but we have people that are here that might answer a question that I haven't got an answer from. Do we know what's happening with this?
Let me ask the city engineer. I know there's an issue of ownership. Christine Clancy, if you can answer Councilor Mercier's.
Sure. Right now, there is an ownership where in order for National Grid to complete the work, there is an easement that they have to execute. So right now, that easement is in the process of being executed, and then after that, the work should continue, hopefully, soon after. We're tracking, we are following up with National Grid frequently with that, the status of that schedule. And so right now, it's easement, and then moving on would be to hopefully move to mobilize construction for that.
Do we have a timeline at all?
I do not right now, but I think the easement is the next critical item, and then we will be asking for a schedule, and we can provide that update.
Now, people can sit here as counselors and make faces when I'm asking a question, but I have to ask when a person is here, when you get a strike while the fire is hot, and that's why I'm asking you this question, because it isn't every day that people are watching that are asking about these questions. That's why I'm asking these questions. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you, the manager. Can we just, that's something that all of us get a question on that, so it's really been a question that we've been asked for a year, and I know you've been working on it.
It has gone back and forth. It's
Okay.
not, they aren't city-owned, and they're not controlled by us as far as fixing, but we have been
Right.
talking to and working with National Grid in order to get those lit. It's a long stretch that doesn't have lighting. We've heard from many people, so.
Yeah, we got a call just last weekend again, and I explained to the person that it's a National Grid issue when,
Right.
we're not fibbing to them when we tell them that, so.
No, it is, and it's been on the agenda with National Grid, with the
Yeah.
engineer in National Grid.
It has, and I mean, every time we meet with them, we have been asking. They provide us an update. It's just that things moved slower than we wanted to. But after this easement, we'll make progress, hopefully.
Thank you.
All right. I need, back on the motion, I need a motion to refer this to...
It's a public hearing.
I'm sorry.
You have to
Is
close the
any-
public
I'm
hearing.
sorry, I
It's a
didn't close the...
public hearing.
Anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Anyone who wants to speak in opposition? That portion is closed, the hearing's closed. I need a motion to refer to the wire inspector report and recommendation.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Mercia. All right, we're going to go back to the minutes. We have the minutes of the Technology and Utilities Subcommittee of April 23rd and the City Council meeting of April 23rd. I need a motion to accept the place of file
So moved.
by Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Conway.
Um,
Next, yes, Councilor Cirillo.
I would request to pull motion 2.2 out of order. So, I have some speakers, if that's okay.
Need a second? By Councilor Elliott, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Cirillo, what motion? It's
12.2.
12.2. Motion by Councilor Cirillo, requires city manager to have the proper department work with the LRTA to find ways of accommodating our community who take public transportation or are in need of carts for their groceries and strollers for their children, while adhering to the 220 CMR seats and aisles. Aisles and doorways kept clear of obstruction. I need a second of this motion by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Cirillo.
Hi, yes, I'll have the speakers speak first, please. Thank you.
Mary Jane Bijou.
Good evening. As of tomorrow, the policy that the LRTA is going to put into effect is going to really change a lot of lives of people that rely on the bus system to get their groceries. I want to say that, I have fond memories of stuffing 8 bags of groceries in the back of my Jeep and maybe going through Dunkin' Donuts for a coffee on my way home, but life has changed, my circumstances have changed, and I no longer drive, and I no longer have a car. So for me, I go to the grocery store 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a week, and I have to use the cart. I can't get a full order of groceries in one cart once a week. So I am not alone in this. There are many people, they're low income or Social Security, disabled people, elderly people that do exactly as I do. And the situation is not just for persons with carts, it's persons that are, have strollers, such as Mr. Vergato's here, and walkers and women with babies and strollers. They're going to be required now to be folded up and placed underneath the seat. Now, I'm going to get dramatic for 1 second, if you'll bear with me, and show you what it's going to mean, what we're going to be required to do as shoppers from now on. This is my average half-week volume of groceries. We are going to be required to empty our groceries onto the sidewalk. Yeah, and this is true. Onto the sidewalk. Fold the cart, put it under the seat, And we only are allowed the space of our seat. As you can see, this exceeds the length of the seat. Under our seat, and put our groceries under the seat. And you see, well, they're not going to fit. So I will have to be sitting with my groceries on my lap floor. That's okay. And as soon as I get to my stop, the reverse will happen. So I would have to...
You'll really have to speak
put my
into the
groceries-
mic, ma'am. You'll really have to speak in the mic because the public can't hear you.
The groceries will have to be put back onto the sidewalk. The cart will have to be brought out, groceries loaded back into the cart, and then we go on our way. This is going to be absolutely everyone. It's going to cause havoc in the buses, and it's going to be very, very difficult for the people that are trying to do the grocery shopping in this manner. And I am going to turn it over to Mr. Vergardis, who also will be required to fold up his walker and put it under his seat.
Mr. Mayor, City Manager, councilors, I've been disabled. I've been dealing with cancer and disabilities for about 10 years. And my necessity is using this walker. It's not for directionality, it's for support. So whenever I go to the grocery stores, I have to take a couple of bags, put them on the side here, because I can't carry them otherwise. And this particular walker does not really, this one is very difficult, as a matter of fact, to close. And if, for example, Miss Bajol was there, I was there, another person was there with groceries, with a cart, whatever, or a person with a stroller, or if someone came in on a scooter or a wheelchair, which they have the fastenings for, all of a sudden you've got a big dilemma as to how to handle it. And if you're going to, even if you're not, for example, if you go to the circulator, usually the circulator has a small bus with a wheelchair ramp, lift. In that case, it's not bad. But if you're going out to Chelmsford Street, if you're going out to the Tewksbury Market Basket, you're going to have to get a bus to the Kennedy Center with this empty. And then you're going to have to take the bus back from another spot filled, and then you have to take the shuttle perhaps back home filled with your groceries. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, and I'm not even sure what the impact is on the, if there's any infringement on the Americans with Disabilities Act. So it's something that I found the LRTA to be usually, Jim Scanlon and George Anastas have been very good. Haven't discussed it with them. But since it's going into effect tomorrow, I think something really has to be addressed at this point.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Oh, well.
Councilor Cirillo?
Yes, thank you. This motion, I just want to be clear, this motion is not a tell, it's an ask. It's a request for we in the city to find a way with the LRTA to make accommodations for our residents, their riders. I just, you know, it goes into effect May 1st. And I rode the LRTA for a year, and it was a necessity. And so it's a necessity for our residents to get their groceries home. It's a necessity for our young parents with babies to have their strollers. It's a necessity for our elderly, some of our elderly and disabled, to have their walkers. So I just feel that this is important. This is about community. It's about helping others. It's about being a good partner in the city. And so this is very, very important. I'm very concerned about our residents who need to take the bus and need this. And it's so this is so my motion is a request that we work with the LRTA to come up with a plan so that our residents can get their groceries home, so that our parents can get their children home, and our elderly and disabled can ride the bus safely. So this is very, very important, and I would ask also that this goes into effect tomorrow. This goes into effect tomorrow, and I would ask that we possibly talk with the LRTA and say, until we can come up with some kind of a resolution, some kind of a plan we can work to accommodate our community, that they possibly hold off on this until we can actually have some kind of a plan in place. I think that would be very, very helpful. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott and Councilor Mercia.
Thank you. Do we know what precipitated this? I just looked up CMR 25, and is it the requirement of the LRTA, excuse me, LRTA, to keep the aisles clear, because that's what the statute is indicating? So are these vehicles so? Is there a separate location? Yeah, please come to the mic. I'm thinking there's got to be a separate location that people who come on with carts or walkers can go to, so that'll still allow for the aisles and the seats to be clear, because that's what it indicates.
There is sufficient space in the aisles for people to pass by, and in all the years, 9 years I've been doing this, I've never seen anybody be disrespectful or anyone fall or trip everyone, because we know we're taking up space in the aisle, and we move, and we're respectful of everyone. I think that the buses should be designed to accommodate us rather than to find us a nuisance, because we're not going away. We are a fact of life.
So is the LRTA, I'm presuming, saying it's a safety issue and they got to keep the aisles and seats clear?
It is a safety issue as far as,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good motion to see how we can make this work. I mean, people that riding the buses, they're doing it because they need access to certain places, and grocery shopping is a big deal. So which is why they stop at supermarkets.
Right.
So, I mean, I support the motion. It seems like if they're going to implement this tomorrow, CMR has been on the books for quite some time. So hopefully we should be able to find a way to satisfy.
Thank you. Councilor, Madam Manager?
Yeah, we will reach out to the LRTA first thing in the morning. I mean, we looked at this just now. It's citing state law. I presume it's the CMR, but again, I can't explain why it is tomorrow in the enforcement. However, you know, the points are very valid that are being raised. Ms. Bouchot.
I don't understand. Section 25 says the use of, well, yeah, 25 is all about seats and aisles and clearance, and I get it, but there also has to be a reasonable accommodation. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Next will be Councilor Mercia, Councilor Conway, then Councilor Cirillo. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's nothing more precious than our children, and when you see them getting onto the bus at Lowell High School, there's no room for everybody to sit, and the kids are actually standing in the aisles. So if the kids are standing in the aisle, I don't know what harm that is doing. But let me just say, we do have a representative that represents a city. It's Phil Shea. Maybe we could give him a call and tell him how important this is to, I mean, I sympathize with you. My God, I mean, they could designate a special section in a bus for these things to be there. Kids are standing in the aisles at the buses and when they get on from Lowell High School. So I don't know. Something can be done, I'm sure.
May I say one more thing? Well, I am concerned that there were no alternatives in place whatsoever, and it was actually put on us very quickly. It was April 19th when when the poster was printed, and they didn't go up in the buses until about a week ago. I've called everywhere. I've called Roadrunner, the senior citizens. I've called wherever I could possibly call to see if there is something else in place that will allow us, at least allow the senior citizens to get their groceries, and there is nothing. So what that means for me is, as of next week, I have no idea how I'm going to get my groceries. But if there was some sort of alternative in place, that would really greatly help.
Thank you. Councilor Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we know when this information came out to the public that there was going to be a change?
According to what Ms. Bijou said, it's about a week ago that it was posted.
About a week ago, because I'm a member of the Disabilities Commission, and we meet every the second Thursday of each month, and I would have thought that it would have been brought up, and it wasn't, because I think it's a great motion, because it's something that we certainly have to address, and I think that you know, and I'm glad that you're reaching out to the LRTA to try to resolve this, if at all possible, because I think it's a complicated situation. And, you know, I know if you, for example, you go onto a train, there's usually sections of that, whether it's in the front or the back, that people can put stuff and store it. Again, I'm glad that this motion was brought forward, and I certainly hope with the partnership with the LRTA that I think we can probably resolve this and at least maybe delay that opening, should we say, of this policy for a period of time until we can meet and work together on its partners.
Yeah, we will certainly request that at a minimum and see where we go. We have seen the posting online, which does say effective May 1st, so we'll reach out.
Councilor Cirillo.
Thank you.
Hi, yes. I feel that this is about the LRTA being a good community partner, and this is about us taking care of our residents and making sure that they get what they need as far as what they need to live. And this is what this is all about. And yeah, I actually printed this out because I was shocked at May 1st, and so I look forward to you contacting the LRTA and starting the motions as far as moving forward and finding some kind of a win-win resolution here to help. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you, the manager, could you just send us an email by the end of the day on any updates?
Yeah, as I said, we'll reach out.
Yeah.
We'll keep you posted. And, you know, if you would like to give us your contact information, we can try and keep you posted as well.
All right. And if you could if you need us to sign any type of a letter or anything, we'll be available tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Motion passes. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you. All right, next we're back to the city council sheet is auditor's business, communication, fiscal 19 budget report for year-to-date, March. Any questions? I need a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Conway, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I may request to take 12.6 out of orders, Mayor, motion.
Okay. Need a second by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Noon, what motion? It's 12-1?
12.6, Mayor.
12.6? Okay. A motion filed by myself, Councilor Noon, Councilor Elliott. Request City Council have City of Lowell recognize April 17th as Cambodian Genocide Remembrance Day. Need a second? Oh, we don't. I'm sorry. I apologize. We have a registered speaker?
Vanna Howard.
Good evening. Thank you, members of the City Council and Madam Manager, and thank you to Mayor Samaras, Vice Mayor Nguyen, former Mayor and Councilor Elliott, for bringing back this item and putting it back on the agenda. It was put on hold as we were planning the building the refugee monument. I was honored and proud to be part of the monument planning and fundraising committees with a small group of dedicated folks. They were former Mayor and Councilor Rodney Elliott, Susie In Chun, Sakpal Pen, Malika Tiang, Vichai Sok of the Glory Buddhist Temple, Kimberly Mom of the Sempomia Function Hall, and Sarah Mrs. Yari Lavan, and the outpouring of community support that enabled us to build a monument. April is a month of mixed emotions for my Khmer community. We celebrate the new year in April. We enjoy the signs of spring, such as baseball opening day, flowers blooming, robins on the lawn, where Easter egg hunts are held. April is Poetry Month. This is the happy promise of April. However, April has a sad memory for me and my fellow Cambodians, as it brings to mind a sad, horrific remembrance for us that is difficult to remember and talk about without great emotion. On April 17, 1975, 2 days after Cambodian people celebrated the New Year. As you know, we celebrate 3 days of the New Year, starting from April 13 to April 15. And so the Khmer Rouge regime came into power in Cambodia and began a genocide that killed almost 1/4 of the country's population. That's 4 out of every 10 people. After April 17, 1975, for the next 4 years, almost 2 million people were slaughtered. How did they do this? They emptied the cities and evacuated millions of people to labor camps where they were starved and abused. Genocide was a policy of the government that came to power on April 17, 1975 in Cambodia. Torture, famine, and outright murder of 1.5 to 2 million Cambodians. I am a survivor of that policy and have a story to tell, as many Cambodians do. After April 17, 1975, my sweet younger 3 siblings, my 2 loving paternal grandparents, and my dear father were killed or died from starvation during that 4 years. April 17, 1975 has different meaning to genocide survivors like myself. It has different meaning to people who were born after 1979. We know that if we are to recognize this day, it must be done with the utmost respect to the survivors and to the people that are no longer with us. We, Cambodians, are a resilient people. We have survived despite the crushing horror that took place after April 17, 1975. We feel from the bottom of our hearts and that it is important we remember this date, April 17, 1975, and put on record for our children and our grandchildren to remember. We all remember where we were on September 11, 2001. I was home nursing my 1-month-old son when breaking news began flashing on the TV screen. When September 11 comes around every year, it is a painful memory of nearly 3,000 of innocent lives lost that day. It is painful and somber, but we must not forget that day, and we must honor and remember the innocent lives lost that fateful Tuesday morning. On that day, I realized we live in an unpredictable world, and so I hugged my children a little tighter, a little longer, before sending off to school in the morning from that day forward. My 1-month-old son, who was born in Lowell 1 month before September 2001, now a junior at Lowell High School, who loves Lowell and embraces Lowell. We are an immigrant city. We are an all-American city. There's a lot to like about Lowell. Lowell shows up when it matters. We are Lowell. I would like to ask the audience to reflect on the many immigrant groups throughout the city that have suffered similar tragedies and sadness, but were embraced by the Lowell community and given new hope. So I humbly ask that you recognize April 17th as Cambodian Genocide Remembrance Day. Thank you.
Councilor Newman? Is there another spokesman?
Councilor Elliott.
Yeah,
Nothing much more can be said other than what Vanna spoke of. I think it'd be important for us to, that every April 17th, the mayor's office, through Mr. Mayor, that there is a recognition through a memorial at the Cambodian Monument, and make sure that word goes out through the community that we don't forget on the 17th, as we do with so many other occasions. I think it's important. So thank you for coming down and sharing that. We shouldn't forget, as Vanna mentioned, so many other nations experience some similar occurrences in their country, certainly not to the magnitude of the genocide in Cambodia. So I think it's an important motion. It's important to the community, and that we will make this part of our annual days of recognition.
The thing is, I think what I'd like to do is have my office develop a plan on how we'll do this, and how we'll also encompass other people from other lands that have some similar situations, and would make a request of us at this level. Councilor Noon?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I want to start by thanking Councilor Elliott when he was mayor. The Khmer Refugee Monument, under his leadership, Vanna's and others, was a part of that. Actually, it was supposed to happen at that time, but because of a lot of things going on, like Vanna said, it got put off. And I'm glad that you, Councilor Elliott, and myself, and I'm sure all the council too, if asked, because this is the right things to do. Vanna spoke elegantly. I'm sure other survivors, first generation of Cambodian American, will recall, and granted, we suffer greatly, but we are resilient people, and we have, and will continue to rise, above this deep and dark history. But it's important that we make sure that our youngsters remember that, and that's why recognition of, April 17 is important, not just to Cambodian American, not just to the survivor, the children, but also the city, as to where these people come from, and where we've been, and where we at now. So it's a great gestures, and I am looking to celebrate that next year with my families and with the community. Thank you.
I think when we talk about genocide, I think all of us here do understand, when you think of the Armenian genocide, Jewish genocide, I mean, the studies, these things, awful things that happen in our world. But I think as a people, we should recognize, these events to make sure, as Banner did state, September 11th is important to all of us in this country. So there are certain dates in mind that to people, they're important, and I think as a group, we should recognize it and understand those issues. That way, hopefully, it's issues like this that can help resolve and ensure that these things do not continue to happen. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Next, we have back to communications from the city manager. First is motion response, Kerouac Partnership. Councilor Cirillo.
Hi, yes, thank you. I was really excited to see that we're working through getting to possibly partner with Orlando. So it's a wonderful report, and thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Next is the Tour de Lowell. Councilor Cirillo.
Hi, yes, another great report. I'm really looking forward to continuing to possibly have the Tour de Lowell in 2020. It was wishful thinking for 2019, but 2020 sounds just as good to me. So thank you. Another great report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have information reports from the city manager. The VO ride update, Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And we have Jared Alves here from Planning and Development, who has been our point person on the bike share program. He can report briefly as to what our first few weeks in the bike share program are.
Thank you, Madam Manager. So we have are about to approach the first month of VO Ride being on the streets here in Lowell. The numbers that I gave to you last week have, of course, changed day by day. So I'm proud to report that we now have changed again since the start of this meeting, but before I left my office, it was 4,130 rides, 826 miles ridden, and 2,373 unique riders, and that's over a period of a month that ended up being, I guess, 21 days with rain and plenty of wind. So that's a pretty good start to the program from not having ideal conditions, but 826 miles, I think, is not a number to be scoffed at. That those are trips that could have been driven or trips that might not have happened at all, so it could even just represent new economic activity or new activity in general happening in the city.
You described the weather conditions. I'm very much surprised and pleased, with the report, because the weather conditions would indicate otherwise. But thank you. Councilor Cirillo?
Hi, yes.
Councilor Conway?
Thank you. This is wonderful to read. I was so excited, and the numbers went up just before the meeting. And so I have to say, seeing the bikes around Lowell and having people post that they're heading out on the bike, and just the other day I had 2 teenagers that they wanted to cross the street, and I let them go. They were on the VO Ride bikes, and it's just so nice to see. Actually, I feel like I'm seeing more people out and about in the city, and it's a wonderful thing. So thank you for all of your hard work, and this is really exciting. So thank you.
Councilor Conway?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the statistics are very impressive, and we certainly do see a lot of the bikes all around the city. Back a couple weeks ago, during the Disabilities Commission, it was brought up, and I wonder if you could help us out with this, that the individuals riding the bikes don't put the bike right in the middle of the sidewalk, because we're talking about individuals with wheelchairs, and they have obviously a difficult time navigating. So I'm not sure how you can get that word out to the public or to the riders, but if we could kind of work on that, that would be great.
Absolutely. I think that is an important message that we need to be sharing, especially just based upon the conversation that we had earlier tonight regarding the buses and the LRTA and making sure that we have appropriate access. I know that we've connected VO Ride with the Disability Commission, and so they will be coming onto the agenda. Unfortunately, I understand that your agenda is quite crowded, so they won't be able to join until July. But that being said, they have the ability to send out messaging to their people that are using the system, and also ultimately, if people are continuing to create issues, if individual riders are creating issues, then those individuals can be prevented from using the app in the future.
I thank you very much.
Manager?
Thank you. Just quickly, some people are concerned if they see a bike somewhere and it's been there too long. There are ways to contact VO Ride, and that's on the website, but they can contact through email at hello@voride.com. They can call VO Ride 855-836-2256. Under the arrangement, they are to remove or replace or pick up the bike within 2 hours, and if anybody is having any issues, please let us know. So, there's going to be an awareness campaign. We just want people to know if there's a bike where it shouldn't be, please feel free to contact VO Ride, either by phone, by email, or if they have an app, they can cite it on the app on their phone. And then the last announcement, not necessarily VO Ride, but there is on May 8th from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. There is a Bike to Work and School Day that will be happening in the city of Lowell. There will be a stop right here at JFK Plaza where people can get refreshments, and it's being sponsored by several partners. This will be on our website, but for all those who are interested, from 7 to 9, please feel free to come by City Hall for refreshments to bike to school and work on that day.
And we understand that not everyone has a trip that takes them by City Hall for work or for school, but if you snap a photo of yourself on a bike or with your bike on that day and tag Lowell Bike and send it out to our friends in the Cultural Affairs and Special Events Office and their Like Lowell pages on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, then we'll put you in a running to win a Like Lowell t-shirt.
Thank you. Next, we have Watergate exercise. Madam Manager?
Yes, thank you. A different type of Watergate. Mark Young is here to report on an important announcement for residents, and Mark will tell the council and those viewing at home what will be planned in the near future.
Certainly a different twist on Watergate. But
yeah, I hope so.
We're initiating a program to exercise the water gates and the water distribution system in the city of Lowell, and there's over 3,500 of them. And we want to have a way to not only exercise them, but have a system of evaluating the condition that they're in, and if they need to be repaired or replaced, do that. And we actually purchased a machine that actually does this instead of having manpower, so we're able to do it in a controlled manner so that the probability of damaging or breaking a valve is really reduced. And it also has a GIS system on it so that we can locate by coordinates all the gate valves and then have a record so that we can have a better inventory of the valves.
Any questions? Madam Manager?
Thank you. And advance notice will be given. People may notice that there is a discoloration of water. It's safe, and they should just run their faucet until it's clear. Maybe you want to let people know how they will know about when you will be in particular areas testing these water gates.
We'll be using social media, but we'll also be going door to door to let the people in the affected neighborhoods. And like any program, when you initially started out, we're going to be doing a small section of the city. We'll start in Pawtucketville, so that we want to make sure that if there's any bugs need to be ironed out, we'll do that in a small section. But we will be making a really extreme effort to make sure that we notify everybody in every means possible, so there's no surprises, and everybody knows what's going on. And if there is discoloration in the water, it's safe. It's just a little turbidity that's maybe activated because of the gate closing, and just simply run your water, the cold water, for a little while, and it should go away.
I mean, hot water tanks, people ask questions like that. Would it affect hot water tanks or boiler systems?
As long as you don't run the hot water, that's why we stress, run the cold water.
Okay.
To get the water out.
Okay. Good. Thank you. I need a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Conway, seconded by Councilor Cirillo. All right, next we have communication from the city manager, out-of-state travel for one person from Health and Human Services. I need a motion to adopt by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Noon. Roll call.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy? Councilor Leahy?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Noon?
Yes.
Mayor Samaras?
Yes.
Councilor Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilor Conway?
Yes.
8 yeas.
Okay. Next, votes from the city manager. Vote approve and accept the fiscal 14 earmark fund, $15 million from Mass DOT for design and construction of Lord Overpass reconfiguration. Waive the full reading, second reading by title. Authorize the city manager acting through the Department of Planning and Development to accept and expend fiscal year 2014 earmark fund totaling $15 million from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Transportation, Mass DOT. I need a motion to adopt by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Conway. Roll call. I'm sorry, Councilor Mercia.
Is this the 15 million to fill in the lot overpass?
This is, yes, this is part, that's part of the project.
Okay, so let me just state my opinion here. I am very grateful to you, I wanted to say Senator Donahue, AKA Senator Donahue, for bringing all this money in here. No doubt about it, not an easy task. Whenever we want to take a section of the city and make it better, I'm all for that. I'm all for taking that area of the city and trying to make it better and have traffic moving smoothly. However, in this instance, I can't see the design of filling in that area, how traffic that goes underneath independently of the traffic on the top are gonna be meeting each other together on a daily basis. I just don't see it, and many people I've spoken to don't see it either. I know that I did question the traffic engineer one time because people told me they were at a meeting where the traffic engineer made a statement that it's not so much for traffic flow, it's for walkability, it's for bicycles, it's for, and I know progress is important. I know that this is a changing city. I know we're a city of bicycles, a city of college students, but this is not Cambridge. Be that as it may, if I might be wrong in what I'm saying, maybe I'm old-fashioned in a way, but I don't see marrying two separate entities together making traffic flow easier. In all consciousness, I can't be a hypocrite to what I feel. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe they'll be down the road say that Mercia didn't vote for it, she was wrong. Yeah, maybe that can happen, but I can't go on record in supporting something that I don't believe in, and I know the vote will probably be 7-1. That's okay. It'll pass, it'll happen, but I can't in all consciousness support it, and that's just my opinion. And I think I speak for many people that I've spoken to in the past. As I say, I'm a messenger and I'm bringing their message forward. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott?
I understand the apprehension, including in my own home. I have been to a number of sessions for a couple of years now, and I was skeptical. But this intersection has been studied by the experts, by the traffic experts. And again, I went to a couple of sessions and they thoroughly explained the concept. Not only is the intersection from, and if you go onto the Lowell overpass, I'm there every day, and the traffic backs up, whether you're under the underpass, whether you're on the merge, whether you're on the overpass. And I think I personally, and I understand Councilor Mercier's concern and many others in the community. You see free flowing going under and you're like, wait, we're going to fill it in, we're going to put in traffic intersections. But if you look at the design, if you listen to the traffic engineers, this is being funded through the Department of Transportation to the state. They're not going to invest $15 million to make it worse. There are lanes for buses, which causes congestion. The signalization is going to be timed from the Saugus Arena all the way to the connector. Because that, in my opinion, and I'm not an expert by any stretch, that's where the congestion takes place. So I was skeptical. And by the way, they've said it's not going to make all the traffic problems that exist now. And I think they're pretty significant when you're trying to get either in or particularly out of the city. You backed up all the way on Dutton Street. So I'm going to support it because A, it's money from the state. This has been going on for many, many years. This is one of many, many designs that were evaluated, similar to Roger Street, similar to so many others. So I think it's important that we move forward, and it's going to improve. What we have found is we need to integrate the other sections of the city, the Highlands into the downtown. So I could go on, but maybe, Madam Manager, we need another presentation because, again, it's not going to solve the traffic problem because we get thousands and thousands of cars coming into the city, but it is going to improve access to the Hamilton Canal District, which is a huge impediment for development. So I think for all of those reasons, I think it's important, and it's not costing, and there's going to be some pains during the construction, but I think adding many, many lanes, including, crossing into the Gallagher terminal. We've had motions that it's dangerous crossing it, so I'll stop. There are many, many advantages. The traffic problems aren't going to vanish because there's so many cars, but it's going to be, I think, a significant improvement.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Elliott.
Can we have the manager? She was ready to say something. I'd like.
Sure. Councilor, we'll be happy to make another presentation. Right now, the plan is that this project is going to be advertised for bids by next week, May 8th, and expected work to begin this summer. So we're certainly going to be presenting updates for the council in terms of the progress, but we're happy to bring the presentation again. I think it's going to be critically important over the next few years that people understand the project and understand when there will be changing of lanes and whatnot as far as the effect. There will be an effect on traffic during the construction, there's no doubt. But I think it's going to be imperative that we keep the public advised about this particular project as well as any other roadway construction projects that will have an impact. In the long run, the design and the intent is to make it better, both for coming in and out of the city and into the Hamilton Canal. I too didn't understand the design. It's gone through an evolution for certain through public meetings, but this is the design that all did, as you point out, the experts have agreed on, so.
Well, maybe we can, have a transportation subcommittee, because I have to tell you, it was similar to the Lowell connector and that Gorham Street, when they suggested a rotary to slow down and prevent more accidents taking. Look what happened with the cruiser just the other night.
Right.
It was kind of an eye-opener. Maybe a rotary in this instance will be, and that's what they're suggesting. Maybe that'll be the solution. So I happen to think the more information we can get out to those that haven't seen the presentation.
And we're happy to bring it to the
Maybe DOT can
Transportation
come.
Subcommittee and ask
Okay.
DOT as well. You brought up a good point, and I wanted to bring this up to the council and to the public. Maybe you did or didn't see the announcement that the Lowell Police put out, but on Sunday night, as you point out, a Lowell police officer was rear-ended on the connector. I have pictures, we put them on your desk, of how the cruiser looked, badly damaged from the rear. This is a cruiser that had its lights on, it had its signals on the connector, was on a detail, and luckily the officer was not seriously injured. However, we're trying to spread the word to the public, #MoveOver. The law requires you to move over a lane when you see safety vehicles there, and you can see how dangerous it is. So we just urge the public, when you do see a police, fire, emergency vehicle, to move over a lane. That is state law, and this luckily wasn't a tragic outcome, but it could have been.
I think Councilor Elliott's correct, though. We've been doing a good job of keeping everybody updated regarding the high school, but it's been a while since anybody's really seen the Lord Overpass situation, so that would help if a presentation is made. And also, you want to have a subcommittee meeting?
Whatever the best vehicle is to get the information out, and can we please invite Mr. Panos on the radio, because he's a skeptic of it.
Okay, thank you. I need a roll call, please.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy. Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
No.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Cirillo.
Yes.
Counselor Conway.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Okay, thank you. Next, orders from the city manager. Waive the full reading, second reading by title.
Mr.
pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinance, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6, therefore entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations, Temporary Traffic Regulations, are hereby implemented for a period of up to 60 days. I need a motion to adopt by
So
Councilor
moved.
Elliott, second by Councilor Conway. Any questions? Roll call.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy. Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Cirillo.
Yes.
Counselor Conway.
Yes.
8 yeas.
All right, next we have ordinances from the city manager. Ordinance amend Chapter 9 Board of Commissions Committee by establishing a monument committee. I need a motion to refer to a public hearing on May 14, 2019,
So,
at 7 PM.
so moved.
Councilor Cirillo, second by
Second.
Councilor Noon. Yes, Madam Manager?
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, through you to the council, this is in response to a number of requests. If the council desires, it could be referred to a subcommittee, rules subcommittee, if there was an interest in further discussion.
So moved.
Okay. All right. What do we have to do?
Yeah, you need a second.
Second,
Motion to send it to the Rules Subcommittee.
Rules Committee. I need a second by Councilor Noon. Thank you.
Just a point of clarification, do we still want to hold that public hearing for the 14th, or go to Rules Committee first?
I would suggest, Mr. Mayor, we'll schedule the subcommittee before the public hearing. Does that make sense?
If we can.
Sure.
All right,
I mean, not the day of, maybe before.
Right.
Okay.
we'll try to do that. Thank you. All right, next, ordinance, amend zoning by extending district to include all of 264, 266 Plain Street and 58 Montreal Street. I need a motion to refer to the planning board for May 20th, 2019, and to a public hearing on June 11th, 2019 at 7 PM. Need a motion to accept by Councilor Mercia?
I have a question,
Okay,
but I will accept it, but
okay, and I need a second on this.
Second.
Second by Councilor Leahy and Councilor Mercia.
through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager, does this in any way affect the VFW on Plain Street?
No, this is something separate from what we're trying to do with the VFW in the Tanner Street extension. This is a
Okay.
separate petition.
It doesn't hurt them in any way?
It does not, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, ordinance, create one new full-time grant-funded position titled Project Manager, and establish the salary in the Career Center. I need a motion to refer to a public hearing on May 14th, 2019 at 7 PM.
So moved.
By Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Elliott. Now, reports of subcommittees, the Housing Subcommittee of meeting of April 30th, 2019.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Housing Subcommittee met this evening at 5:30. In attendance, myself, Councilor Elliott, and Councilor Mercia, along with Councilor Conway and Councilor Noon. Eric Schlegel, Director of Developmental Service, was there as well. And the meeting was to begin discussions of accepting Community Preservation Act. This started way back, I think it was in early March, when Councilor Noon first brought the motion forward for us to look at the Community Preservation Act, and then Councilor Kennedy followed later, and the city did, the administration, did present a report to the council about 3 weeks ago, which was referred to the subcommittee. I thought we had a very good discussion about the pros and cons of doing this. Of the 351 cities and towns, over 250 have actually adopted it. In fact, if you look at the map of Lowell and the greater Lowell area, all of the green communities around Lowell, which is highlighted in white, have adopted, and Lowell, as of right now, has not. It's a long process. It's something that was referred to the subcommittee. We're making, again, a report tonight of what took place. There was a vote, which I'm going to bring forward in a few minutes, but it also requires a public hearing, and it requires, if we go forward in an affirmative way at the public hearing, it then has to go on the ballot at this upcoming election in November, and we would need the ballot question 90 days prior to the November election. So we're on a timeline, and I think one that if we move forward, we'll be able to meet. I think the members of the subcommittee all asked very good questions, and I think the three of us feel that if we do go forward, it obviously should go to the voter as a ballot question. We can charge a surcharge to the taxpayers, if you will, of 1 to 3%. We looked at some of the surrounding towns, and Burke is at 1%, Drake is at 2%, and Westford's actually at 3%. And in the report that we did get from the city manager's office a couple of weeks ago, a 1% would be about a $1.3 million from the taxpayer. And again, the monies could be used for affordable housing, open space development, historic preservation, and even some administrative expenses. Councilor Elliott made a motion at the subcommittee meeting, which I'm bringing forward now as a report, to ask the administration to put together a report looking at our 5-year capital plan and to actually call out what improvements could possibly be paid if this act was passed by the voters in the city, what capital improvements could actually be paid from the not only the monies that we would get from the surcharge, but the trust fund that Registry of Deeds, Howe mentioned a couple of weeks ago that they've raised since this went into effect about $6 million for those that are paying for a recording at the registry, and some of those obviously happened here in the city of Lowell. And so again, that vote was taken and voted unanimously by the subcommittee to ask the administration for that information. And as soon as we have that information, in order to keep us on the timeline, I will ask the clerk to schedule another subcommittee meeting so that we can then bring a recommendation back to the full council. As Councilor Elliott and Councilor Mercier were able to drill down into the actual Chapter 44B and talk about the exemptions that are available, and I think those are important to include in whatever vote we bring forward to the voters. And again, this report is a report of progress, but again, we would ask that the administration do provide us that information from the capital plan. And I would certainly defer to Councilor Mercier and Elliott for any communication, and certainly the maker of the original motion, Councilor Noon, if they have anything to offer at this time, but we will be getting back together relatively quickly. Thank you.
All right, so I need a motion to accept this as a report of progress and adopt the motion established by the subcommittee.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Cirillo, seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Mercier, you're all set? Okay. Thank you. We're all set. Next, we have the Disability Commission report. Councilor Conway?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We met on April 11th, and at that meeting, we had Eric Schlago as a guest, and he was there to discuss the ADA transition plan and how the commission has contributed $25,000, and also through a state grant is an additional $50,000, and that what Eric Schlago said was that we're identifying 9 specific areas to take a look at to see if they're ADA standards. And next we talked about the CIM training, the community access monitoring. We also talked about Lowell High School, and our representative on that is Jeff Wilson, and he's there to ensure that the ADA standards are kept up, and that's when the city manager, actually when we talked about it before and she was a guest at the Disabilities Commission, we did talk about bringing a representative forward to the high school project to make sure that, that again, the ADA standards were kept up. There was also a motion, the LTC for equipment. The LTC came up with closed caption, which certainly helps out. They put in $10,000 and they asked for a reimbursement from the commission. Updates on the Mogan Cultural Center, that we will be available for advising from the commission if need be. They also talked about the Facebook, and this was something that, you know, that we're working on, and it's a work in progress. And I believe the bylaws and the documents, we've gone over that now for the last couple meetings, and we reviewed them once again, and they'll be sent to the law office. So that, Mr. Mayor, is the report from the Disabilities Commission.
Thank you. Any motion
Thank you.
to accept the report of progress? By Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Noon. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Mercia, I'm sorry.
If it's possible, I'd like to make a point of personal privilege to talk about two very brief issues. One is an update on First Street, and another one is about the parks. If I could just briefly...
A second. By Councilor Lee.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, we had discussion about First Street, and I don't know what's being done. I don't know if there's going to be any cameras up there or any signs that say area under surveillance. But since we last spoke, the person that is monitoring that for me, who almost got killed, and thank you for the great story by the newspaper, because what she said was actually true. There has been a sink thrown there, a parlor set thrown there, a lounge thrown there, and a broken bureau thrown there. So much for motions that go in outer space. I don't know what happened, but that's the thing there. I did get a call from State Rep Tom Golden, who asked me if the sheriff we could reach out to the sheriff's office, which I did, and I talked to the director of CWP, which is the Community Workforce Program. And Thursday, we're both going up there to take a look at it and see the area that we want cleaned. And one day in June, we're gonna work with the sheriff's office. I don't have the date yet, but after we meet there, because of all the rain, the program has been backlogged, so May is quite busy. So we're gonna have a day in June where we're gonna send a crew up there to clean it. So that's gonna take place. I just wanted you to know that update. And one day while I was at work, someone from the city came in and showed me on his phone a ton of pictures from various parks with barrels that were so full that people throw them down, and then there's debris and trash all over the place. He did bring that up to the attention of Gunther Wellenstein, who did his duty and called Waste Management, because from my understanding, it's Waste Management that empties the barrels in the parks. That was 3 weeks ago, and they're still full, and I wanted South Common barrels full, Rotary Club Park barrels full, Avenue C barrels are full at the park over there, Cross Street behind Demoulas, that park, the barrel's full, Adams Street behind the Olympus Bakery, that is full. Showed me tons and tons of barrels. That's not acceptable when we just renewed a contract with Waste Management, and that is part of their obligation. If this were the city that were doing it, I'm certainly sure the barrels would be empty, but I couldn't make a motion soon enough, and I can't wait another week. So I'm sorry to complain, but this is a beautiful city, but if we're not getting cooperation, nothing's happening, and I'm gonna squawk about it. I'm sorry, I'm gonna squawk about it.
Madam Manager.
Thank you. We've had the same complaints. We have reached out into Waste Management, and this afternoon we also had the same discussions going on. So I can assure you they are being made aware, and they do have to live up to the terms of the contract. We do have an option to terminate that portion of the contract if it's not working out, but we have a contract with them, and they should be emptying the barrels. So we are on that, and we're very concerned about the condition.
Because what happens is they get so full, the wind blows it all around, goes out into neighborhoods, then neighbors are all upset.
Right.
So.
Right. And in First Street, we're going to have a report. The police have been up there, the inspectional services, there have been efforts at cameras up there. They actually had found some evidence as to who was dumping some of these things, and they are pursuing to see if they can prosecute that as well. So that's an ongoing issue. As far as the access, most of the land is state, and we've reached out to the state as far as cleanup, but we want to work in partnership.
It's a very dangerous area. First Street is the hill onto a highway. If the day comes that, which I did in the past when you weren't city manager, and the police chief had a cruiser there, so cars would go around and slow down so people wouldn't get hurt. So if I could reach out to you again to have that happen that day.
And if you have a date and time, we'll
Yes.
make sure Alex will be there with you, and we'll make sure that we coordinate with the
Sure.
sheriff.
Thank you so much. Thanks for letting me say that.
This is, I agree with Council Mercer, is a good issue to bring up. We have, the spring is here. Everybody's in our parks. We have barrels, and we ask them to use it, just from one person that has, I mean, luckily the city gives, where we're at, a dumpster, and we have volunteers empty, but that's not always the case. So is there some action that we can take, Madam Mayor, Madam Manager? That
They are required under the
They are.
contract, and so we have been, and we will, insist on their compliance and.
Is it just not in their route, or they, I mean, they do the same thing every single week?
Yeah, it's a separate portion of their services, but we did build into the contract some penalties if things aren't done in accordance with the terms this time around. So we're most interested in having the barrels picked up and emptied on a regular basis.
Well, no, this is good. I commend Council Mercier, because it's, we have cleanup days, we're all cleaning up our parks, and as you mentioned, a barrel blows over, hey, nobody wants to pick it up, but then it's all over the place.
And then nobody's picking it up.
Right,
And that's,
okay.
I shouldn't say nobody. Yeah, we've talked to Shannon Cohan. I mean, he's very much aware of this issue in our parks as well, so.
Thank you, Mr.
Councilman
Mayor.
Milazzo.
If I could just follow up, I agree with everything Councilor Mercier and Councilor Elliott just said, but I would like to kind of end it on a positive note. I went to a couple of openings over the weekend, and the parks did look, outside of the trash, the parks did look good. So, kudos to the Parks Department for getting the Little League fields and the baseball fields ready for play. So, thank you.
All right, next we have petitions, claims, property damage, and motion to refer to the Law Department for a report and recommendation.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Mercia. Now we go into council motions. First motion by Councilor Noon, request city manager have proper department review ways to improve traffic and pedestrian safety along Salem Street corridor. Need a second by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This came out of a number of meetings I had with the resident of the Acres, and CBA also echo the concern of the resident. And I also, in communication with our traffic engineer and DPD, they're well aware of the concern, this area, the Salem Street corridor. So what I'm asking is that the city, through the manager, have the DPD take a close look at how to improve the traffic and pedestrian safety at that area. It can be short-term and long-term. And the short-term, I know that DPD Deputy Directors Craig Thomas, I had spoke to him about it. And so this way, if we can get a report back and give us a close look at both short and long-term to improve pedestrian safety at that location.
Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Next by Councilor Cirillo, request city manager have the proper department contact community stores which are adhering to the plastic bag ban, and request that they provide paper bags with handles. Need a second? Second by Councilor Milonazo. Councilor Cirillo.
Yes, thank you. This is another motion that's not a tell, this is a request, this is an ask of the community members of the community stores that are adhering to the plastic bag ban. If we could just ask kindly to have them, they're already supplying paper bags, which is wonderful, but if we could request or ask that they supply paper bags with handles so that it makes it a little bit easier for our community
to be able to carry their bags. The goal is to have the reusables be used more often, and hopefully we'll get into that kind of motion to continue using the reusables. But in the meantime, if we could just maybe ask the community stores that are being wonderful in adhering to the bag ban, then that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Okay. Any other dialogue? Council Leahy?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we should be doing this. I think, to the make of the motion, I think all of the councilors should call. We shouldn't have the administration calling on this, so I'm not gonna support it. I think this is something that, as councilors, if we wanna make a call, we should do it, but we shouldn't be asking you to do that.
Councilor Conway?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with my colleague on that because you have 9 people calling up with 9 different requests. I think that we, if we're going to go ahead with this motion, I think it should be a message coming from the city manager's office, and a consistent message. Thank you.
I mean, I don't believe that's the role of the city council to speak up, go out as independents. It is the role of the city manager's office, once supported by the city council. So I'll have a roll call on this.
Councilor Elliott? Yes. Councilor Kennedy?
Yes.
Councilor Leahy? Yes. Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonas?
Yes.
Councilor Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Samara?
Yes.
Councilor Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilor Conway?
Yes.
8 votes.
Okay, thank you. Next, by Councilor Cirillo, request city manager of the proper department look at providing a concrete base for the monument that is leaning and sinking at Lemieux Park on Mill Street. A second by Councilor Elliott.
Yeah, it's a very self-explanatory motion. Thank you.
Next, motion by Councilor Samara Sanoon, requires City Council pass a resolution in support of Congresswoman Trahan's effort to urge U.S. Census Bureau include Khmer, Hmong, and Laotian among the languages supported by the Internet Self-Response and Census Questionnaire Assistance option for the 2020 census. We don't need a second, Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that Congresswoman Trahan approached you as well as she did mine, and she also wrote a letter to the Honorable Stephen Bellingham, directors of U.S. Census Bureau. She expressed her concern of the lack of language support in particularly Cambodian. And you look at Lowell, the second largest Cambodian population in the country, and you don't have the language support. And she's concerned that, to ensure the correct count of the population, you need to have the language support, and they don't. And so she actually working with her colleague to try to get that happen, as best as she can. I don't know how, but it's important because if you don't have complete count, it's translated to money, translated to representation. And I'm sure you share that too, and that's why you joined. And she asked us, Mr. Mayor, she asked us to bring this to our colleague, and I'm just happen to be a messenger. So that's it. Thank you.
No, this is a resolution, and I'm going to ask for a roll call on this. The one thing the New England representative of the federal government stated very clearly, it might be too late to have the language added to the questionnaires. However, by us sending a resolution, in a sense, making noise, they could provide the city of Lowell with more funding to hire people in the Cambodian community to help do the investigation or the research on our population. Councilor Milonas?
Thank you. I certainly will support the motion. I think it's a very good resolution to pass. I guess I would suggest that either the Congresswoman's office or the mayor's office contact Long Beach, California, and just find out what they're doing in Long Beach, because they actually have the highest population of Cambodian and Southeast Asians in the country. So I'm sure that Congresswoman
At least
Trahan's,
she's reaching out, but
Right.
but that's a good point.
Okay.
We'll make sure that that does
Okay,
happen.
thank you.
Councilor
I
Newman?
just want to add, we also got, I also had a letter here from Secretary of the Commonwealth, William Galvin. He indicated that the census, the regional director for the census, Jeff Beller, indicated in the letter of Secretary of State that the Census Bureau current plan do not include telephone support in Khmer. And they do include it in, they do have it in Suffolk and Bristol. Are they out of their mind? Middlesex is the county that predominantly Cambodian or Khmer American.
Yeah.
This is really, they out of touch.
But Madam Manager, can that be included in the resolution also?
Yes, we'll make certain, and we will also forward it to the Secretary of State.
But since it's a resolution, I'd like to have a roll call. I'm sorry, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion says to pass a resolution,
Yes.
and if we vote and it does pass, then I would say if we could refer this to the solicitor to draw the resolution for us for next week to sign it. Could we do that too? Thank you.
Clerk calls the roll.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy? Councilor Lee?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Leonardo?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Samac?
Yes.
Councilor Stewart?
Yes.
Councilor Con?
Yes.
Thank you. Announcements?
Yes,
Councilor
I
Cirillo?
have announcements. On Saturday from 8:30 to noon, the Lowell Sustainability Council's 4th Sustainability Summit is happening for sustainable solutions for a greener future, and that's happening at 246 Merrimack Street. And also on Saturday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., the 3rd annual Points of Light Lantern Festival, a spring celebration of unity and renewal of food, music, and traditions of Lowell's diverse cultures. It's when they put the water lanterns, they release them into the Western Canal over at Ecumenical Plaza. It's a beautiful, beautiful time. And so I just wanted to let everyone know that Saturday's a hoppin' day. Thank you.
Any other announcements? Motion to adjourn? By Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Elliott. Thank you.